Everybody come see us on tour. We'll be in Columbus, Dayton, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky, Burbank, California, and Honolulu. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.
Donald Trump won the election, and he won it decisively. I say he has a mandate. Other people disagree with that. That's semantics. He thinks he has a mandate, and he's going to execute that mandate, and nothing's going to stop him. There's no way to stop him from doing what he's doing, unless you end the world first or tie his hands through a major war.
Well,
I really think Donald Trump should. I'll just say this real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
He really needs to go on record and say, I will be the president of the United States on January 20th. While I can't make policy right now and I can't negotiate, I will tell you the following. Ukraine, somebody may have given you a green light. My light's red and will always be red. And if you act on the green light of the man who will be out of office in 2 months, the man that's assuming office in 2 months will shut down aid for you permanently. You think you have troubles now, you will cease to exist as a nation state when I come in, if you do this. I'm telling you right flat out, you don't get to do this. If you do this, I will kill you. You don't have to worry about the Russians. Then I would turn to Great Britain and France and say, if you guys want to sign on to this, again, that's your thing. I'm not here negotiating you, but I will tell you this, on January 20th, you lose all American protection. I will literally tell the Russians to blow you off the face of the earth. We're not coming to their assistance because they're trying to kill us right now. You see, I'm taking this personally. I blame France and England for trying to start a war that's going to kill my family, destroy. If I were Trump, I'd take it personal too. They're trying to destroy everything you're trying to build by making something existential that is not the defense of Ukraine. Right. So he should just tell them, you're done. And I would also tell Mark Rutte, the new Secretary General of NATO, that on January 21st, he will cease being the Secretary General of NATO, and that NATO will cease to exist because the United States will pull the plug. We will get rid of this entity. You guys are trying to start a conflict with Russia that impacts us. That will not happen. Again, you can do anything you want between now and January 20th. I can't stop you, I being President Trump. But on January 20th, I can pull the plug on everything, and I will pull the plug on everything. And you have to keep that in mind when you start doing. He needs to go on record and say this, or else this is going to get out of control. Because we have New York Times line, Washington Post line, we have the Biden administration active, we have Europe, NATO, everybody conspiring to tie his hands up with Russia. And the other thing he would do is send a message to Russia. I wouldn't advise him talking directly to the Russians. Talk indirectly to the Russians and say, guys, right. you see the direction I want to go.
Isn't there the Logan Act issue there? Like he can't really negotiate with them right now?
If you negotiate as a private citizen, you're look, if I were Trump, I'd be ballsy. Excuse my language. I don't know what I'm allowed to say here, but I'd be aggressive.
That's pretty safe.
Yeah.
and understand that the Logan Act has never been successfully prosecuted. And some people, think it's unconstitutional, but he is the president-elect. He's not your average private citizen. He was elected on a mandate of change, and we have a president who lost the election, trying to tie his hands by engaging in policies that aren't essential to us. So if I were him, I'd make the argument that, Biden, you screwed up. I'm negotiating. Pound sand. Department of Justice, come. I will tie you up in a court. I have a 7-2 Supreme Court right now. You ain't going to see the light of day until January 20th. And on January 21st, you cease to exist. So please send your guys in here. Try and prosecute me under Logan Act. And every swinging, that comes through the door will be unemployed on January 21st. That's what I would do if I were Donald Trump. Because, again, people would say, well, Scott, don't you believe in constitutional due process? I do. But I believe in life. And we're talking about nuclear war here. This is not something to play. Joe Biden has decided to, as I said in that speech, to play Russian roulette with our lives with a gun where every single chamber is loaded. Every time he pulls the trigger, we die. If I were Donald Trump, that's not what the people voted for, Donald. That's not what the people said. The people that voted for you won the election. There's no question about that.
Well, you've called for his supporters to go shut down DC.
Sure.
How much does what Donald Trump does depend on what his supporters do? Because it seems like he's very responsive to his numbers with his base, but in terms of who he has staffed himself with, he's surrounded by maniacs. Not all of them, but you've got Rubio in there and a lot of other people who don't seem to have any real interest in stopping this.
Yeah, so I just
how
read
much is he just going to be caught up in that momentum?
I'll just read this tweet that Russ is referring to. Scott, you tweeted, MAGA Americans should shut down Washington, D.C. until Biden reverses his decision on ATACMs. Surround the White House, surround Congress, shut it all down, because if we don't, there may be no America for Trump to make great again come January 20th.
Yeah, if you remember during the height of the Black Lives Matter protests in the United States, protesters came to Washington, D.C. and tried to do just this, shut it down. That, you know, the famous or infamous, depending on your point of view, where Donald Trump came out with Miley and walked across to the church after the cops came out with tear gas. Yeah. You know, my daughter and her husband were right there on the front lines protesting against it. You know, that they believe so strongly in this that they went out there and they did that. If you're willing to do that, if you can mobilize for that, why can't you mobilize to save all life on the planet?
Sure.
This isn't a joke anymore. I mean, Biden, the Biden administration has to be put on notice, but it's not just about them. As you said, this is what would empower Donald Trump to be decisive. We need him now to be presidential. We need him to be worldly presidential. He needs to become the leader of the free world.
Do you think he has that in him?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, I've been look, I did a meme in this election. I don't know if you saw it, you know, because I'm not happy with either choice. I wrote an article where I said neither one of these two candidates, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, if running for town supervisor, would even get on the ballot because they don't know the issues. They're out of touch with the people. They couldn't even become dog catcher. They're not qualified. And yet they were the choices we had. So I did a meme touching in on the Avengers movies, the Endgame, and then the first one was Infinity Wars, I think, or something like that. But there's a scene where Doctor Strange is going in the future to check out possible
different timelines. Yeah.
And then the Iron Man comes back, goes, "What are you doing?" He said, "I went forward. How many times? 14,695,000. Looked at different outcomes. How many of those do we win? One." And then later on in Endgame, in the end, when the big fight's happening, Iron Man comes to him, to Doctor Strange, and says, "Is this you said there was one chance. Tell me this is it." And Doctor Strange says, "You know, if I tell you, it won't happen." But later on at the critical time, he tells Iron Man, "This is it." Iron Man puts on the glove, snaps the finger, saves the world, and dies. But so when I did the meme, I said, you know, you said there were 14 million chances to save America, you know, and he looks at him, puts on the glove. And, you know, in the movie, he goes, "I am Iron Man." And this one I said, "And I will vote for Donald Trump." 1 in 14 million chance, baby. 1 in 14 million chance. That's it. That's why I voted for Donald Trump. I'm admitting it right up. I voted for him. Not because I thought he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't. I have a lot of problems with Donald Trump. But I voted for him because we are literally in endgame. There are so many ways that America collapses domestically. I had the FBI come into my house on August 7th for no reason other than to harass me for free speech. You know what my free speech was? The thing that they were highlighting is the big example of the Russians. I interviewed Anatoly Antonov, the Russian ambassador to the United Nations, about Russophobia. You know, the danger of Russophobia infecting America, where we are not allowed to learn the truth about Russia. And he had written an article about Russophobia, and he gave me the article. And so what I did is I read the article, I cut it up a little bit, and I wrote a bigger article using his article as sort of the guide. And I sent it to him. I said, "Look, I reworked your article. What do you think about this? You know, if you have any objections, let me know." That's what a journalist does to a source. You know, FBI went, "You were taking direction from the Russians." I literally told him, I won't tell you what I told him because I'm respecting your audience, but there was a word that begins with F, and off. And that's it. I mean, my God, it's journalism.
Have you ever watched our show, Scott? Because, it's really not a problem.
Well, no, but I'm respecting Jimmy Dore. I don't want Jimmy, although I've listened to Jimmy Dore's live.
Jimmy does keep it cleaner than we do. Yes.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right. He's old school.
If I was on your
way.
show, the F-bomb would fly. But actually, I've been talking by people who support me. They've asked me that I, even though it's natural for Marine to use this kind of language, to I lose my.
Come back at 11. We do the blue material.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the point is, the FBI came into my house. They stole my computers because they didn't have a legal right to get them. They got a search warrant with a classified annex, what they told the judge what their probable cause was. The judge signed off on it, believing that if they came in here and took my electronics, that on the electronics would be evidence of criminal activity. Right. And I told them there's nothing there, and there's nothing there. They admitted they've been listening to my phone calls and my emails for 2 years. 2 years they were been doing this. That requires, again, a FISA warrant, more probable cause. For what? My crime was to go to Russia, to meet with Russian officials, to meet with the Russian people, to capture the true essence of Russia and bring it back to the United States and educate the American people about the reality of Russia, trying to point out that Russia is not a threat, that we don't need to go to war, that it's better to have peace with these people. My God, I am an enemy of America, apparently, because the FBI thinks so, because they've sent 40 agents into my home to steal my computers and roust my house. And this is the America that we live in right now, where the FBI thinks that they have a right to do this, where the Department of Justice empowers them to do this. America is fundamentally broken on so many levels. We can get into the economy. We can get into race relations. We can get into everything. We are in endgame. And Donald Trump gave me 1 in 14 million chance of surviving because he claims he's going to have a revolution.
Everybody come see us on tour. We'll be in Columbus, Dayton, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky, Burbank, California, and Honolulu. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.